This is the LeMieux Report for the week of July 13th. Topic 1, Campaign 2010, Show Me the Money. Round 2 of the Invisible Primary ended last week with the release of second quarter fundraising reports. The race for cash, which insiders watch, was certainly more exciting this quarter, with 5 contested statewide races now up and running. Governor Christ stood out from the crowd, hauling in more than $4.3 million in 50 days. Former Florida House Speaker Marco Rubio, running against Governor Christ in the Republican primary, raised $340,000. Congressman Kendrick Meek, who with the departure of State Senator Dan Gelber is the lone competitor for the Democrats, brought in a respectable $1.2 million. In the governor's race, Chief Financial Officer Alex Sink, the Democrat gubernatorial candidate, raised over $1.28 million. Republican Attorney General Bill McCollum brought in over $1 million in just 6 weeks of fundraising. Having started in the first quarter, CFO Sink now has raised $2.4 million, transferring money from her race for CFO. Bottom line, Rubio underperformed the rumored prediction of a $1 million quarter. In comparison, Governor Christ broke at least the Florida, if not the national record, for the most money raised in a quarter, let alone 50 days. In the governor's race, neither candidate struck a knockout blow. The governor signed Senate Bill 2080 into law, changing how environmental permits will be issued by the state's 5 water management districts. The legislation changes how permits will be issued, how appointments will be made to water management boards, allows for developing alternative water supply products, and allows homeowners to use Florida-friendly landscaping despite local government ordinances or homeowners associations rules. Bottom line, by far the most controversial section of this bill is the strongly worded language expressly prohibiting the governing boards from intervening in the permitting process. The development and environmental communities alike will be watching to see how these changes impact future projects. Last month, Governor Christ, citing the need to spark the sluggish economy, signed into law revisions to the Sunshine State's growth management laws. Builders and business interests supported the new legislation. Some environmental groups and local governments were against the measure. Last week, 8 local governments took their opposition to the courts. The cities contend the measure violates the Florida Constitution's single subject rule, which prohibits the legislature from passing laws that speak to unrelated subjects. The local government suit cites provisions within the new law which called for affordable housing programs and addressed security cameras at private businesses as falling afoul of the single subject rule. Next, the local governments argue the new law violates the prohibition against unfunded mandates, noting the new law will require municipalities to undertake the cost of updating growth plans. Bottom line, the affordable housing and security camera measures may be found to violate the single subject requirement. Whether that means a court will strike down the meat of the new law, which is what the 8 municipalities are really fighting against, remains to be seen. From the Madoff Ponzi scheme to the GM bankruptcy, there is no doubt that Americans have learned investments can carry a substantial risk. Restoring investor confidence is viewed as an important part of getting our economy back on its feet, and a new law recently signed by Governor Christ aims to do just that. Legislation that took effect July 1st increases registration requirements for investment professionals and adds a fingerprint component for advisors and dealers. Prior to the legislation, the Office of Financial Regulation was primarily responsible for the enforcement of securities regulation on the state level. Under the new law, the Attorney General's office can also investigate and bring criminal penalties against those who commit fraud. Additionally, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement can now offer rewards for information in money laundering investigations. Bottom line, this new law is long overdue. The legislation utilizes legal and law enforcement components of relevant state agencies to further protect the investments of hardworking Floridians and hopefully inspire confidence that it's safe to invest again. After 4 years of waiting, the Environmental Protection Agency passed California's request, allowing the other Sunshine State to enforce its greenhouse emission standards for new motor vehicles. Awaiting federal approval since 2005, the new state law requires new vehicles achieve an average of 35.5 miles per gallon fuel efficiency. Unfortunately, Florida won't be joining these ranks ahead of the new federal standard, approved by President Obama, which will take effect in 2016. This year, the Florida House failed to pass an energy package to enforce the emission standards and require utility companies to generate at least 20% of their power from clean energy by 2020. Bottom line, look for legislators to try to add energy issues to the expected special session on the Gaming Compact, slated for this fall.